Hey, everyone, and welcome into another episode of the Tim and Jim Show. I'm Tim Sohn with Sohn Social Media Solutions here, hanging out in the woods here in Pennsylvania, and I'm so excited to be here for the show here with my friend, my trusty co-host, Mr. Jim Hughes. Take it away. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing great, Tim. It's great to see you. Is it really Wednesday already?
It
I mean,
really, because Wednesday means it's the Tim and Jim Show.
yeah, and it's also hump day, as they like to say,
Yes.
especially once the show is about over. It's close to the middle of the day. And no, but excited to be here. Excited to have our guest today, Kendra Ramirez. I met Kendra in person way back before this C word started at
Yes.
Social Media Week Lima. In fact, we were just talking right before the show that maybe she's going to come again this year. It's in about mid-June. I know I'm planning to go. It's a great small, I would say it's probably one of the best conferences in America. It's a very small but intimate group. Jessica Phillips does a great job, as does Now Marketing Group, in bringing that conference to life. And so it was a lot of fun. I actually got to go this past year, and she's actually doing it in less than a year. So that's kind of fun in that regards. But enough about the conference, but I'm more excited that we have Kendra here. Kendra has actually been on the show, I believe, twice because she made a guest appearance when I went live from Lima and you were in Pennsylvania, Tim. And then we've
Yes.
had her on previously talking about mindset. And actually, that ties into one of her latest books called Microshift, which, as I was reading, was just blowing me away about the little things that you can do to shift your mind. In fact, I told her I got to get a few copies. I'm going to send it to some friends that I think would get a lot of value of it. And then the other book, Marketing Fusion, they didn't spell it like my company name, or I would have had to get it cut. Is another great book, which really gives you some great actions to take as a business. And I think that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today, which happens to be, for all of our business friends out here, how to succeed with business to business marketing. And so, Kendra, we're so excited to have you here. How have things been going for you since the last time we've talked?
Oh, it's so good to be with you. Literally, you were part of my gratitude this morning. I couldn't wait to be here. You always just produce such an amazing show. So life is good. Life is really good. And I hope I get a chance to see you in June too. That would be so fun to be together.
That is awesome. And so, tell us what was kind of what made you decide to do these books?
Yeah, everyone's like, "You're crazy. I can't believe you just produced two books and published them within 3 weeks of each other." They're like, that's terrible marketing. I'm like, you know what? I'm about breaking the rules, right? It's like, who made up these rules? And really, it's two completely different books with different audiences. So yeah, the whole process started in August of last year, and I found an amazing publishing company that took us through the whole process, and it just was so easy that it was a no-brainer for me. I'm like, let's do this.
Right. Awesome. Awesome. And so, are you ready to dive into our topic today? But
Yes.
before we do that, we want to say hello to Stefan, and we have
Hey,
Baba.
Stefan.
Is it Kamara from Gambia? Wow. So it's an
We are
international show.
global.
Chris
Yes.
Stone, good to see Chris Stone. I appreciate him stopping by because I know he's got a show that he helps produce at the top of the next hour with Dan Jordan, the sales energizer. So, Chris, great to see you. Um, so, Tim,
Hello,
are you
Chris.
ready?
Jim, I'm ready. Are you ready, Kendra? Are you ready?
Always ready.
Yes. So, Kendra, what is the biggest difference in business to business versus business to consumer?
Yeah, so our agency specializes in B2B because that's my love. That's where I grew up. That's my whole career has been involved in that. And B2B is really a group of people in an organization making a purchasing decision. And so with B2B and the decision, we have to really think about types of businesses and titles of who we're targeting versus consumer, B2C, business to consumer, it's usually an individual. It's usually and easy to buy a product or service very quickly. There's not a long sell cycle, and you're really casting a much, much wider net. Yes, it's targeted and segmented in a different way, but it's usually an individual that's making those purchasing decisions versus a group on behalf of an organization. And my heart goes out to consumer marketers, because I'm like, that's a hard business. And so I have so much respect, because to me, that's a 24/7. You're always on. It's very demanding. And versus B2B, it's very relationship, focused.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's one of the things that I think why I almost would prefer to be in that space is because you're right. It's like, because even though I do this stuff with Amazon, and I guess you could say that's B2C. In the show we do, we're really looking to work with brands. So for us, it's more B2B, and we're explaining to the consumer how these products work. So it's kind of interesting. I don't think about the B2C part. Like, I'm not sitting there like, oh, I got to advertise these products. Amazon kind of does that for you. But what do you think, Tim, you seem like you're more B2B as well, right? Is that, what do you think
Yeah.
of the whole difference in the spaces? And, because I know previously you worked for a paper, and I guess that was really a B2C business, wasn't it? Or was it?
Yeah, I mean, previously I worked in journalism, so that was really a whole different thing, because I worked as a copy editor, or as a copy desk chief. So it was really a whole different ball game. But Kendra, what got you interested in working in the B2B space? What do you like about that?
At the end of the day, I love problem solving. And so anytime I get an opportunity where someone's going to put me in a room and say, hey, we're trying to figure this thing out from a lead generation standpoint, from a recruitment, standpoint. And so my very first job out of college, I was a technical recruiter. And so I fell in love with technology. And from that, it just expanded, because in technology, we were in the B2B, space. And I have to also share, like, at the end of the day, it's, B2B or B2C, it doesn't matter. It's about human. And I love how Brian Kramer, really has the framework around H to H and human to human. It's about human behavior. So like psychology plays a big part of that journey, and that we're really just trying to reinforce human behavior, whatever that may look like. At the end, I'm a consumer. My business is B2B, but there's an opportunity to really serve me in both ways, and serve me from a human standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah. And I think too, sometimes the challenge is, when you're B2B, as an example, I think we feel like we spend more of our time on LinkedIn, because that's where the business people hang out. And so it's interesting sometimes how people like, oh, you need to be on Facebook, you need to be here and there. But if you're a B2B, am I going to actually go on Facebook and look for businesses to work with? My opinion is no. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I love LinkedIn. I've been on LinkedIn for, I think 17 years now, which is just absolutely crazy how fast time has gone. And you would think after 17 years, I would have a different platform that I, fall in love with. And it has just been super powerful for our business, and continues to provide the most amazing community and connection. But it's about, no matter really where the platform is, it's about that connection, about that relationship, and how are we showing up, and how are we serving others? So to me, it's not only the platform itself, but what are we doing to, connect with others, and be able to grow and serve them in a way that, we're being seen and allowing them to be seen. And I just think LinkedIn's just done a fantastic job, and it's definitely our go-to, as well for our clients. And yes, there's different times depending on the specific goal from the client, that we may use, Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or some of the other platforms. It really always comes back to, what is that overarching strategy of who we are trying to target, and where do those people play?
Right. And that kind of leads really well into our second question. And that is, what steps should a B2B company take to get on the right path to success? Because I think that's why everyone's here today. They want to know.
Yeah, so we've created an awesome framework. We just call it a marketing success blueprint. And we always start with the audience and really understanding the audience. And most of our clients, when we first start working with them, we really dive deep into building out those personas of who are we trying to reach and what are their pain points? Where do they play? And we can't do this in a siloed fashion. We can't just, inside of an organization, we need to go talk to some existing clients. Why did they choose the business over someone else, over a competitor, and understand the language that they're using to describe the business? Sometimes, businesses will just sit in a room, right, and come up with, oh, this is who our target audience, and this is why they selected us, without doing any of the research. And so we talk to employees and understand how they view and how they tell others about the business and why they work there and what's, their strength and their differentiation. And then we also talk to their clients, and to be able to pull that together. So first of all, we have to really deeply understand the audience and their behaviors and what their problems they're trying to solve, and where are they participating? How do they like to digest content? And so that way we're not guessing. And then from there, we go into a deep digital assessment. We do an assessment of their website and the social channels. Where do they show up in Google? How are they compared to either their competitors and or a mentor brand? Who do they aspire to be like? Because maybe we don't have to focus on what our competitors are doing. Maybe we just want to leapfrog them completely and disrupt the industry that we may be serving. And then going through, once we understand the audience and digital assessment, really defining what is success. What is success? Is it the lead generation? Is it bringing in more candidates to be able to help, from a talent and growth standpoint? What exactly are we trying to achieve? And in this example, going through this with the current client of ours, it was a accounting firm, and they were telling us, hey, we only need 30 net new customers this year. I'm like, okay, well, we don't need some big fancy strategy to go after 30 net new customers. And so we didn't have to go and do a very evolved. It was really, let's get them focused on those referral relationships. Because especially being in accounting, any kind of financial decisions really is going to be through that word of mouth and the referrals. And so we really focus them in on defining the success and the audience, and specifically who are we going after. And we very quickly, they blew out their number in first quarter already. So they already hit
Awesome.
35 clients. And the 30 was their goal for the year. But by getting very intentional about what we're doing versus just spraying and praying and hoping we catch something, so being able, once we go through that framework of the understanding, the assessment, defining success, and then it's about that measurement, right? Knowing exactly specifically what are we going to measure so we know that we're successful. And then it's optimize and repeat. And you just keep going back through the list. And so that framework works really well. And we try to just keep everything super simple. And it doesn't have to be very complex, just like the little example I gave when working with the accounting firm.
And I think you bring up a couple things. One, your comment about, kind of like who you want to model yourself after. I think you talk a little bit actually about that in your book, Micro Shift, right? When you're trying to figure out what you want to be when you grow up. So that was something I caught. But I also think it's interesting what you talk about in regards to, not, and I think this is where you sometimes see these people that spam us in the LinkedIn connection request don't understand, is understanding what the customer wants. Not everybody wants 1,000 new customers, right? That becomes a scaling issue. And I'm going to change this phrase around since you're here, Kendra. But sometimes it's not that we want, the clients. It's like we want better boyfriends and girlfriends, not more boyfriends and girlfriends. And so because usually it's with just the guys will say, I need, get better girlfriends. But I have to think of our audience here. But because if you get those better clients, then you don't maybe need as many, right? If you get someone that sees the value. And so I think that's awesome that, right, you listened. You listened to them. Like they said, look, we only need this, right? Because you'll have these people come in when they're wanting to work with a business and they're not listening to you. They're like, well, this is what we're going to do for you. It's like, that's not what I want. I mean, Tim, what do you think?
I love what you were saying, Kendra, about the idea of simplicity and not just like spraying everything out there, right? And see what works, right? And the whole idea of referrals, right? And focusing, that's so important. And I see Jessica's in the comments. Jim just put that on the screen. Yes, Kendra is a rock star. We totally agree. Yes, we're so excited she's here today. And shout out to your event, Jessica, Social Media Week, Lima. I know these two are so excited, hopefully, to be there.
Did she hear us talking about that?
I paged her while we were here.
Singing your praises. I love it.
Yes. But yeah, I love that whole idea of simplicity and focusing in. And yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And so I think too, it's also identifying who is your ideal customer, right? Who is that company that you want to work with, as opposed to thinking, oh, I got to work with everyone. I think when I did a lot more with social media, and Tim, you may have found the same thing. People like, oh, well, there's all these people you could work with. It's like, look, I can't handle all these people. I just want a few good clients. I don't want to think I'm the solution. And not everybody's going to like you. I know it's hard to believe, right? Your voice is not for everyone. I think that's another thing that's talked about in the book, as well as just the whole point of, even though you're saying the same thing that somebody else is saying, it's being said in your voice. Right?
Yes.
And I thought that was an important point too, because I think sometimes that keeps us from doing something. Because I think, in fact, the example was, it was kind of funny. It's like with Easter Sunday, all the priests and pastors tell the story of Christ. Well, we've already heard that story before, but we still, want to hear it again. And I also wanted to see my friend Brian Kennedy. Thanks for stopping by, Brian. I definitely agree. Quality is better than quantity, as well as opening the door to quality relationships. And Brian is a master connector, which I know is one of your 6 C's, Kendra, that you talk about in Marketing Fusion as well. And so, yeah, this is awesome. And so let's and Tim has shared in the comments, if you want to check out Social Media Week Lima, which will be in June this year. So hopefully we'll see some of you there. And so hopefully, like Kendra, I think maybe we're getting you to think, I got to get my ticket. I think it's
absolutely. Yeah.
If you're not speaking, I mean, who knows? Jessica might want you to speak, knowing Jessica. So I think these are definitely some great pointers on how we want to get people on the path to success. But before we go to our next question, we're going to have a little word from our friends at StreamYard.
Speaking of path to success.
And we're going to do the Tim dance while we're off stage here. Or maybe we'll do it while we come back.
Hello, everyone, and we are back here on the Tim and Jim show doing the Tim dance with Kendra Ramirez, talking about how to be successful at business-to-business marketing. And Jim, where do we go from here with our conversation?
Well, we have another great question. Tim, would you like to ask it?
Sure. Kendra, is there a different type of content that B2B should focus on, or should they be everywhere?
I love this question. And back to kind of what I was sharing about the accounting firm, like they had budget and they expected me to produce like this big, we're going to do all the things. We're going to be, everywhere in social and blogging and videos. And so they were really shocked too. And I came back and said, no, this is really easy. This is what we're going to do. And it was about creating those content and mini lessons, right? Just little mini things that were, tips and tricks and things to think of. A lot of executives get really anxious about sharing knowledge. They get anxious about it because they're like, well, I don't want them to know my secret sauce. Let me tell you, in the 16 years of doing this work, it's very hard for people to just go and see something and actually implement it, or they need someone to hold themselves accountable to actually execute. So they can go and actually see, the opportunity from a content perspective of doing these just little mini lessons, sharing out knowledge. So it doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like sharing, and it feels like community. And so when it doesn't feel like marketing, it pulls us in, because we can smell it a mile away, right? We know when someone's doing, marketing. But when someone's truly speaking from how they show up, how they serve, and really doing, leading with value and education, then when the timing is right, because in B2B, everything is about timing. When the timing is right, you're the person they're going to think of. And so it looks not only from a content sharing standpoint, it looks from a connecting standpoint. I gave that story inside of the book about just being a connector, right? And it may have nothing to do with my business, but seeing an opportunity where two different businesses need to connect about something. And, who are they going to think of when they have a marketing opportunity? Right. And in that case, there is no marketing, there's no selling. It's just about what Jessica, preaches about, building those relationships and doing it from a genuine place. And so we don't have to, there's so many digital marketers out there like, oh, you got to post 4 times a day and you got to post on 7 platforms. I completely disagree with that. And back to our relationship skills, we want the quality, not quantity. We don't want to create more noise. How can we stand out in a different way? And so being a place of providing resources, and maybe it's a resource hub where people can come and get in things that aren't gated, right? There's not a, fill out this email form to get it. You're just giving it because you're serving, and you're giving them the things that will help their business. And they're going to come back to you. They're going to come back to you and say, hey, I really loved what you shared about XYZ. Tell me more about your business. Maybe you can help us actually implement these things. Or, hey, I need someone to handhold me through implementing this. So making sure the content is about the client, not the company. That is the big thing when I do a digital assessments. The whole, especially in B2B, this is the number one mistake I see. The whole website, they're beating the chest, like, look at us. And the whole thing is about the company, but not once is it reflecting the client or problems they solve or how they actually help. What process and methodology do they use to help their clients achieve their goals? And so really flipping the script from a content standpoint is critical, especially in the B2B space.
Yeah, and you talk about also in Marketing Fusion, where I think a lot of businesses, I'll say, are falling short, is the use of video, right? And it doesn't have to be live. I mean, this is great when we're live because we get to interact with the audience, right? We get to answer their questions in real time. But even just doing recorded video, and because hey, folks, you can upload up to a 10-minute video on LinkedIn right now. You don't even have to go live on LinkedIn. That could be something that's going to solve someone's problem. I also love how you talk about not being afraid to share, right? Everyone acts like, right, oh, it's the secret sauce. It's not a secret. It's just that you're saying it a different way, and somehow you think that you've, solved, some crazy equation. And I think that's so important. I would like to know, what are your thoughts too? I think that where businesses are maybe missing an opportunity is on YouTube with video, because they could be sharing these short videos that, to your point earlier, explain something that someone's looking for help with. And sure, sometimes they're going to say, oh, I can now do it myself. But other times they might actually reach out to the company. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I love video. And I agree, because it gives an opportunity for me to see your face light up when you're talking about something. And it doesn't need to be overly produced. And so that is something that, our executive teams, when we're working with them, they're terrified to get in front of a camera. And just getting them comfortable with pulling out their phone. And, maybe they just left a client meeting and they had an aha with the client. Capture that, being able to document, some of these. And sometimes we can, edit it and get it, uploaded. And we really want the authentic piece. I love like Scott McGowan from McGowan Bravebender. He does a Thankful Thursday, and he's been doing this for several years now. And every single Thursday, whoever he's with, he does a real quick, whoever he's with is like, I'm thankful for this person that I'm with. And again, that's not marketing. That's just his brand and who he is and how he serves his community. And it's a very easy example that's not overly produced. He's doing it on his phone and he's showing up and serving his community really well. So I agree with you on YouTube, right? Because we're going there sometimes to solve a problem. YouTube is very much a DIY community, right? Do it yourself. And maybe they do solve the problem and they are able to implement it themselves. But maybe next time in the conversation, they're at a dinner or they're a business lunch and someone's saying, hey, I'm struggling with this. They would say, hey, I just implemented something that I saw on YouTube. You might find their videos helpful, or you may reach out to their company to help. Back to creating those word of mouth and referral opportunities. So looking at it from the legs that happen from sharing that video. So making sure not only that video is in YouTube, but also sharing it and repurposing it. So we're putting it on our website to help drive traffic. We're translating that video from a transcription standpoint, because we have to address multiple learners. There's a variety of learners. Some of us like to listen to a podcast. So could you strip the audio from some of the videos and put it in an audio format? Making sure when you transcribe the video, maybe they like to just read something. And so that way you're addressing multiple learners and styles. And so I just love, the opportunity when we do create video to have that human connection. And someone can actually see how we are passionate about something. Because just like our conversation today, we could write this whole thing, but you're not going to see how fired up all three of us are about this topic.
Right. Exactly. And I think that's such a critical thing, right? Because you can tell when somebody loves what they're doing, enjoys what they're doing, and that energy transfers to you. And then that's when you actually say, you know what, I want to work with this person. I know for me, that's how, like with my business coach, Kelly Roach, when I listened to her podcast and I could see how passionate she was about helping business owners, I was like, I got to work with this person. Tim, what about you? Have you found people that their passion just drove you to say, hey, I got to work with these people?
Yeah, definitely. And especially through video, right? You can feel their energy. You just get a better vibe through video. You get an idea for their personality, just all the senses through video. And that's definitely made decisions easier for me, whether it's working with a coach or, multiple decisions over the years, for sure. And I love what you were saying, Kendra, in terms of, videos don't have to be overly produced, and bringing that authenticity through video. It's so important. It's so important. Yeah.
And I love too, Kendra, in Marketing Fusion, you talk about, and I'm a lot like you in the regards that I'm all about the one take video, right? Even sometimes when I do videos about products on Amazon, I do it in one take, right? I don't sit there like, oh, I got to redo it. Oh, unless I messed my audio up so bad, like I completely fumbled over my words like we do on live videos sometimes. That's maybe the only time I'm going to truly redo it or, major mistake. But otherwise, right, stop trying to be perfect, right? Getting it done is so much more important. And it baffles me sometimes where you'll see these YouTubers spend hours and hours creating a 10-minute video. And sure, it looks great, but it's like, I would have probably watched it if you had just gone with your original take. I mean, Tim, do you find that to be a challenge with folks as well, is that they just it's almost like they want to overproduce it?
Yeah, definitely. And I'll tell you, I hate doing recorded videos because I'm one of those people that I will do, like when I used to do my courses and I would have recorded components, I would redo the recorded videos. I don't know how many times, because I want the recorded videos to be perfect. I'll admit I'm one of those people. So that's why I love live, because it is what it is. And I love the authenticity of that. So recorded videos, I hate recorded videos.
And there's a time and place for it, for sure. There's a time and place for it.
Of course there is. Yeah.
And I love that you guys are bringing up perfectionism, right?
Yeah.
And that really trips up a lot of people. And what I've learned through my coach is that's actually a protective skill. When we're in perfection mode, we're protecting ourselves from potential shame or judgment. And so when we realize what we're doing and the trap that we're in and what our brain is doing in that moment, from being that in that perfection, that we're actually just trying to protect ourselves, and we're fearful of, if we put ourselves out there, we're going to look silly, or, you know, this topic's already been covered. We really get in that mental junk in our head when we're writing content or producing content. And so just understanding, like you had said earlier, the example I gave in the book about someone out there wants to know your version of that topic. I mean, the world's been around a long time. There's no original thoughts here, right? We're just having our angle on that particular thought. And where we stick our neck out and share is where an opportunity that may resonate with someone. They may see something and it may make an impact, and you may never know about that impact. There's opportunities that have landed in my lap where someone said, I've been watching you for several years, and I read your content and I watch your videos. They never engaged with any of it. So I had no idea. When their timing was right, they reached out and said, hey, we're ready to get started with you. And so you just have to trust the process and lean into it, that progress over perfection, and that, you know, you sticking your neck out a little bit and being in that uncomfortable space and pushing through the fear and doing it anyway. That's where the golden goose is, right? When we're able to lean into that.
Yeah, so true. So Kendra, what do you have coming up in I guess the next few months? Any big plans? I know you are you still doing the reset conferences periodically, or?
Yeah, reset's just, you know, as needed basis, and it's a passion project for me, and it's just all the things that I've learned through having my coach for the last 8-9 years now. And so it's just whoever drops in my lap, you know, I have those conversations, you know, completely donated time. And so really, you know, after producing these 2 books, I'm like, whoa, okay, what's next? So it's just, you know, continuing to, you know, serve. Last night I got to speak at a women's group, and it just warmed my heart to be able to, you know, share my stories of my learnings as an entrepreneur and mindset, and how our brains trip us up, and, you know, marketing opportunities. So anytime I get an opportunity to share that with others, I always want to share the lessons that I've learned, so someone doesn't go through the things that I went through.
Yeah, in fact, I'll need to go back and find that episode where we had you on before talking about mindset, because to me, that was another powerful conversation, because I also loved what you said about abundance, right? I think where so many of us are afraid to be financially successful because we don't think we deserve it. But the reality is, if you are, you can do more for others. And so it's, you know, it's that, I mean, that blew me away when you talked about that. I mean, it was like, that might, you know, because we all grow up in these different environments, right? Like, I don't know, I can't speak for Tim, but I know I didn't come from money. I think Kendra, from our discussions, I don't think you did either. So it's, you know, when you don't grow up around it, you know, so even as a business, right, you start to get these feelings of, oh, am I supposed to be successful? Is it okay? I mean, Tim, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something that you've seen as a challenge at times as a business owner?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I didn't grow up around money either. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. I think it's a challenge for a lot of business owners. You know, I mean, when I grew up, I mean, we didn't have a lot of money, and there wasn't something that was really a priority that was, you know, it wasn't even discussed that much, you know, in my family. You know, we had enough to get by. We were, as kids, we were always happy, you know, with what we had, you know, that kind of thing. Right. Even though we didn't have a lot, but we were happy. My parents always made the most of what we had, and yeah.
Very true. So folks, make sure you connect with Kendra on LinkedIn. We've shared the Amazon links to her books in the comments, so make sure you check those books out. And if you connect with Kendra, she might even be able to give you away if you want to get multiple books, because I told her I'm going to have to get some extra copies of Microshift to send out to some folks I think would get a lot of value. I mean, I think everybody would get value of it, but I know some specific people that I think would get value out of it. So
Thank you
Kendra,
so much.
any final thoughts, Kendra?
Just, for me, what I want to always lead with is expect good things, right? Just expect good things. And when we expect it, instead of playing the what if game, right? Because our head sometimes goes to the negative of the what if this bad thing's going to happen, flip it. What if this good, amazing thing is going to happen? So I just encourage each and every one of you, just expect good things in your life.
Awesome. And Tim, what are your final thoughts for today?
Yeah, just thank you, Kendra. Thank you so much for being on the show again. Great to have you back. And thank you, everyone, for being here. It's great to have everyone here every week here on the Tim and Jim Show. And thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Tim. And next week, we will have Rob Statham. So that should be a lot of fun. We might even talk about wine. I'm not sure where the conversation may go, but Rob is, I think it's going to be a fun show, just like this has been this week. Kendra, thank you so
Yes.
much for joining us. It was great to catch up on live video in front of all our fans and all those watching on replay. If you had questions for Kendra, don't forget to drop them in here, and definitely check out Marketing Fusion and Microshift. And we'll see you guys next week. Same time, same channels. Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
Bye, everyone.